All right, so today we are going to talk about adding chlorine to your pool. Specifically, I have a saltwater pool. So if you're wondering if you can add chlorine to a saltwater pool, the answer is absolutely yes. It is not going to hurt anything. Typically what I do in the summertime, because we get a little bit longer days, a little bit more sun, you can see a little bit of algae start to build up on the walls of your pool. So that is when I will use the liquid chlorine to kill the algae, keep the water crystal clear. The saltwater chlorination system absolutely does its job, but in the summer, you can find yourself having to run your pump a lot longer and potentially still getting a little bit of algae just because of how long and hot the days are. So liquid chlorine is great. I usually put in a couple gallons once every few months. So usually like 2 to 3 times throughout the summer season. That keeps the pool clean, keeps the algae away, and doesn't do much to the chemicals. So this little handy dandy device is what I use to check the pH and the parts per million. So I will show you guys what they are before. I'm going to add some chlorine in, and then we'll come back a little bit later and we'll check the numbers. So first thing I check is going to be salt parts per million. So we just dip this thing right here in the water. Really easy. I like to keep my parts per million right around 3,200. Right now we are sitting right at about 2860. So I'll probably end up adding a little bit of salt as well. That's where we're at right now. And then if I go to pH, your average or best pH levels are going to be between 7.2 and 7.9. So if I check right now, I am going to be right at 7.89. So just below 7.9. We'll see what adding some of the chlorine does to that. Usually brings it up just a hair. So let's go ahead and add some liquid chlorine, and then we'll come back a little bit later and we'll see what these numbers are looking like. All right, so as you saw, we just went ahead and added some liquid chlorine to the pool. That is going to clear up the algae, keep the water crystal clear, and also probably raise the pH just a little bit. As I mentioned, I like to keep my parts per million for salt around 3,200, and as I just measured, I was right around 2,800. So I am gonna go ahead and add a little bit of salt as well. So let's go ahead and check that out. All right, so I just added 1 bag of salt on top of the couple gallons of liquid chlorine that I put in. And as you can see, I went ahead and brushed the salt around the pool a little bit. Let's go ahead and give it a little bit of time to dissolve and run through the filter. And then we'll come back and we will see what the pH and parts per million levels are at. Okay, so we are back. It has been a little bit over an hour since I added the chlorine and the salt. Let's go ahead and see where our pH and our parts per million salt levels are at now. So first we'll go with the salt parts per million. As I mentioned, I like to keep this somewhere around 3,200. It's okay if I go a little bit higher. Same thing with pH. I like to keep it 7.8, 7.9. It's okay if it goes a little bit higher. In the summer, the water evaporates a little bit quicker, so I'm always having to add hose water, which is going to lower both those numbers. So after adding 1 bag of salt, we are now spot on 3,600 parts per million, which again, a little bit high, but not bad at all. Let's switch over to pH. So after adding 2 gallons of liquid chlorine, now we are sitting right at 8.4. So just a little bit higher, not much. And again, totally okay with both of those numbers being a little bit high because of the fact that I have to add pool water every once in a while with how fast the water evaporates down here in Florida. So overall, no problem at all to add liquid chlorine to your saltwater pool. It'll help kill algae, it'll keep your pH up, and also keep your pool crystal clear. And then of course you just want to keep your eye on the parts per million with the salt level as well, so you know when to add that. This little thing right here is absolutely awesome. This is going to give you the salt parts per million, the pH, the temperature of the water. It's got a little LED screen on here. So if you need one of these, I will put the link in the description. It's a fantastic tool to have, much easier than using the little test strips. So if you have any questions, any comments, feel free to leave a comment below this video, and I hope you guys like it.